difficult to make informed decisions. So in a life cycle assessment, it's focusing at the moment very much on ecological impact. So we look at emissions and resource use from raw material extraction to disposal, and then we calculate the environmental impact of a product. It is a methodology which is a very complex one, so this is why you also see so many people working on this project, but it can be used for different purposes, for different industries. And it is just very recently that it has been also applied to livestock production systems, and we will see later on that this puts quite a challenge for life cycle assessment. So what you see over here, it's a tractor. It's just to illustrate in an LCA you can measure what do you need just to construct a tractor. You need quite a lot of different raw materials, and then you also have to think, okay, that you have your tractor for some years on your farm, but then what at the end of the life of the tractor, what are you doing? Can you do recycling products, etc.? So this is what is illustrated why there's a tractor on this slide. So we are scientists, we love to have very clear definitions. So there is one formal definition of an LCA, which has, so we address environmental aspects and potential environmental impacts throughout a product system's life cycle. So we start from the very beginning to the very end of a specific product, and we look into all the different elements that are needed to produce a certain product. So what for you can use an LCA, life cycle assessment. So the standard, the ISO standard here has put up 3 main topics that could be used on the LCA for. So the first says product development improvement, or so you might already have a product, then you can use the LCA to identify what we call hotspots. What are the critical aspects throughout your production chain that you really have to focus on to improve the process of your product? So how can you implement new technologies to reduce the environmental impact? Our previous speaker here, he talked about using different natural colors for your fiber instead of chemical colors. So that would be one option where you identify a hotspot and you can react and improve the situation. Strategic planning, political decisions. So it can be used by the industry, but it can also be used for governments and NGOs, for governments, also for legislation purposes, or to set standards, and to, as we heard before, the enforcement of laws also forces the industry to react, improve, or to have more sustainable processes. Marketing, or you can use it as a marketing tool. You can say, okay, I did my homework, I did my LCA, and these are the results, and then you can convince your consumer that this is a good product. But we also heard we have to be aware that you are not using an LCA as a greenwashing tool so that you somehow make your product look nice, because consumer will be also very, if they find out that you're cheating on them, you lose the trust of the consumer. Regaining trust of consumers is a very hard job, so don't use it as a greenwashing tool. As I said, livestock LCAs are a challenge. So when you talk to life cycle assessment experts, they are usually a bit hesitant to look into livestock, because LCAs were designed for industrial products. And there it's more linear. You have one product you would like to design, but livestock, we are faced with different challenges. So we still look into greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity loss, eutrophication, so there is quite a complex, the livestock production systems are very complex, and to get all the data, we also talked about data generation, is very difficult. So we have to consider all these enteric fermentation. So what's going on in the rumen of an alpaca? We don't know a lot about that yet. So how much greenhouse gas is methane emission is done by an alpaca? There is slowly coming up research, but we are facing some challenges there. Manure management, also, how do you manipulate the manure? How many emissions do you see there? So, I mean, these are obviously elements of an LCA you are not seeing in the industry, and you look into designing a car, for example. And we are here at Alpaca Fiesta, and everybody is just thinking as alpaca producing high quality fiber. Yes, that's true. Alpacas produce high quality fiber, but not only. They have meat, they produce meat. People eat delicious steaks of alpaca meat. It's sustaining the livelihoods of families. They use the manure, maybe for their crop production, maybe they burn it. So there are multiple usage of animals. What we also see in the alpaca industry, there's a value. If you have a very high quality animal, it sells also nicely as a breeding animal. So there are multiple but high quality products that also have to be considered and assigned in a life cycle assessment to make a fair comparison. So these multi-output systems is a huge challenge when we look into an LCA. There is also a standard format, so to speak, in how a life cycle assessment should be done. So we have step one, you set your goal, your scope, what is we will see what we are doing in the alpaca LCA. So what is your goal of your study? Step two, an inventory analysis, where you gather all the data available that you need to actually run your assessment. It's a very complicated task already. And then you do the impact assessment, and finally you do an interpretation, and based on your interpretation, you can take certain decisions. So, just to highlight again, I'm here standing on behalf of a large group of people are coming also from different universities. We also have here Catch Your Benefit and NGOs, so we are looking also from different angles. Everybody brings in a different expertise. We have an interdisciplinary team because it's so complex, the alpaca system, so we need different people addressing different questions. So just for looking at what is happening on farm level, so we have experts on animal nutrition, on animal breeding, on rangeland management, soil science, sustainability assessments. We have experts on just running the LCA. So it requires a consortium of people addressing one topic. And it's also a nice example, this project here, because it also, we are working, international colleagues are outside of Peru, but we also have very strong links to Peruvian academia and university. I think it's because you always need the context-specific information plus people who are experts on a specific methodology, so that it actually, at the end of the day, the LCA that you are creating is making sense. Because we all know you can run a program, but bad data in, bad outcome. So we have to make sure that good data goes into our LCA. So what is our goal? We would like to assess the environmental impact of alpaca fiber production, and the second step is actually to compare it with the most likely substitute. What does that mean? You can say, okay, an alpaca sweater, and compare it to a sweater produced from another, maybe from acrylic fiber or another fiber. So what's the difference between these two products? In scope, we would like to address two stages. We have here, it's called cradle to gate. So looking from the beginning of the fiber production on the farm to the end, just to have the yard, or we go cradle to grave, then we have really a sweater or another product made out of alpaca. We are currently in step 2 of our project. We just started in September, so we are just very at the beginning of the project. We collect primary data. What does that mean? Where does that data come from? We have field data, farm data, we interview experts, we interview farmers, we have research database already at university in Lima, so there has been a long history of doing research over a long period, because you sometimes also need data that's going back several years. It's not just having the data from one single year. So we are using that information, but we also go back, find literature in Spanish, in English. That's another advantage of having an international consortium, because you have people with different language skills. And I think a very important step of our LCA is that we are a team, but at the same time we start a review process over there, start of a review process of LCA experts which are independent from us. So it's not like we can say, okay, we like to do it, and we use that data that we would like to use. There will be outside people judging and telling us what are we doing. And they will point out if there is a mistake, and so that we can correct. But this is, I think, a very, very important point, that we have this external review process going on along the whole project duration. As I said, this inventory is LCA requires a lot of data, very specific. I have just put up here, some snapshots of the Excel sheets that we are supposed to fill right now. You need different database from the LCA, you need expert interviews, you need to gather all the information and have to fill quite a lot of data sheets. And yeah, it's called here, it's an iterative procedure, so you start filling, but then you keep on finding new information and you add that on. I'm sure you cannot read what's written all here, but this is just to illustrate in a very simple way what we are dealing. You see a green part, so this is all the information that we need for what's happening on farm. How are farmers rearing their alpacas? And then there's a cut. This is then when the fiber after shearing goes to the blue section, which is the whole industry, where you start all the processing then of the fiber, from cleaning, washing, all the steps up to finally be able to sell your final product. So At the moment, we have two groups in our team. So one is looking into the farm, at farm level, what data is required. The industry is strongly collaborating with us, providing very many insights in their industry secrets, providing this information to run the LCA. So we are doing quite good in data collection so far. And yeah, we hope to find, to get to the first analysis pretty soon. The Higg index was mentioned. We also have to look into that one and other categories for how you assess so climate change, eutrophication, resource depletion, etc. All these factors or these potential impacts are addressed in the LCA. Our LCA experts pointed out the LCA is also constantly evolving, improving their methodology, having new, better models to calculate eutrophication, etc. So they are applying the newest methods that are out for the LCA studies. So and then the interpretation is then really identifying again hotspots, looking what are the critical points along the whole chain. We saw this very complex system diagram with the blue, the processing, and the green, the farm level. There are actually points where we need to look at and focus on working. The comparison of alpaca fiber with the most likely substitute is still quite a bit of an open question for us. What will be the most likely substitute? Because to make a fair comparison, you need equally good data for the other product, because it's unfair to use not very accurate data for the other product, because then you might end up in this greenwashing problem that they say, okay, you use very good data for alpaca, but you didn't use it for the other product. So to make sure that you have a fair comparison, you need very good data for both products. Sensitivity analysis is then for scientists always like to see, so if you change that, how is the reaction of the system, how much benefit does it bring you? Yeah, interpretation of results, writing up reports, preparing presentation, and that's at the end when you do all the interpretation of your data. So with that, I'm sorry I'm still not be able to show you any results, but what I would like to point out, I also brought something for you. When you come in, there's a big stand, a big booth from Catch Your Benefit. So you can find us there if you would like to ask more questions, detailed questions. We also have prepared a flyer, so it's in English and Spanish, where you can also find additional information. So please feel free to come and see me or my colleagues, or to get one of the flyers, because I know it's a lot of information already, so you can read something here. There's also contact information. You can get in touch with us if you would like to know more, or if you would like to join our effort. You're most welcome to do so. Thank you.